All right, well, thanks everyone for being here. My name is Andy Smith, Vice President of Growth and Development here at A&M Mortgage. So I get to do lots of fun things at the company. Very delighted to be here, also a very proud gay man. So June is a very important and very busy month for us. And I'm delighted to invite fellow members of the community here to chat about some very important issues that are close to my heart. So I'll let my fellow moderator introduce himself.
Yeah, starting with the boring folks before we get to why you're here. My name is David. I'm VP of Production here at A&M Mortgage. Also a gay man, so very excited for you all to be here for this. This will be our first Pride panel that we've had at A&M, so very excited to do this. And then I know we're going to probably talk about it later, but I want to put it out there. Next Wednesday, we're also having a Pride party on the 18th, starting at 5 p.m., so please come if you're able to make it.
Can you tell who made the running order? Because that's at the end.
Yeah. Can you tell who does not look at it? But.
It's wonderful to work with sassy gay men. Yeah. Okay, Justin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Do you want the microphone or without the microphone? What's better? Microphone. All right. Yeah? Justin Lucas. I work with @Properties. I run a small team, and my team is here, Brian, Eric, and Camille. Thank you all for being here. This is exciting. I'm glad and honored to be here. Thank you for the invitation to share some thoughts on not only supporting our community, but the industry as a whole. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks. I'm Ballard. I run a small team at Properties. My team is not here. Thanks, Glenn and Sammy. I've been selling real estate for 25 years. I have a wife. I have 2 pit bulls. They're both rescue pit bulls, and I'm just really happy to be gay.
I'm Mark Keppy. I work for DreamTown. Thank you. I have a team as well, a team of 7 agents and assistant, and half of them are here, so thank you for coming today. Appreciate it. My husband and I, we live in Rogers Park, and we have 2 dogs, and I've been in Chicago now this month. It is 20 years. Wow. So happy to be here today. I actually thought I was going to be a judge on a panel. Yeah. Didn't know you were going to make me talk. Happy to be here, though.
The good news is I found the on switch for the microphone, which is why it wasn't working. And also the judging can be done next week at the karaoke competition, so if only you were in Greece. So thank you everyone who's here. Lots of you submitted questions. So what I've done is kind of sorted those questions out into our panelists, and we're going to get to those shortly. So we're going to start with the more generic topic of growing your business / state of the market, and then we'll go into kind of LGBTQ plus issues. So first question is for you, Justin, if you may. This is from one of our audience members. How would you describe the current market in Chicago, and what are your projections for inventory for the Chicago market?
It has been a seller's market all year. If anybody has represented any buyers or sellers, you understand how crazy it has been out there. Almost everything has received multiple offers on it, and if it's a decent property, decently priced, in a good location, it's going to go significantly over. I anticipate that to slow down. I think Chicago typically takes a summer vacation. I think this first 6 months have been nuts. We will see probably a little more inventory, a little less activity as the market wants to be outside for the 6 weeks of summer that we truly have. We'll see a little bit of uptick of activity right after Labor Day, and then over the holidays, things will die down and quiet down. And then we'll wrap back up again January 2nd. I think historically we've seen a lot of activity right after the Super Bowl, mid-February, but since COVID, I've been seeing, I'm sure everybody else has been seeing, right after the new year, things have been off to the races.
Cool.
Is that
Yeah, no, that's my question.
Is that what everybody else has seen as well? Yes. We've seen some numbers. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so next question also from one of the attendees, and this is for you, Allie, is how do you approach a multiple offer situation, since that's pretty common these days?
I choose the gay broker. Just kidding. So I usually talk to my client and I say, listen, we're probably going to get multiple offers. When we get these multiple offers, we will vet the offers, and then you can decide if you want to go back with best and final, or if you want to choose one offer. Something recently, like last week just happened where we got an offer that it blew every other offer out of the market, and that's how this market is kind of tracking. Oh, hi. I'm friends with her on Instagram. We talk a lot on Instagram. And so it's been kind of a complicated scenario up to the point of vetting offers, because all the brokers are asking, how are you going to handle this? How are you going to handle this? And that's really my honest answer is I go back to my client and I say, you have to decide here. But we all know what wins, right? No contingencies, usually more down or cash and the highest offer. It's like, it's not brain surgery, right? But like, if your clients are not blowing it out of the water right now, your buyers, they may lose out on a lot of properties. At least that's what I'm seeing. That's all I have.
Sorry if I can, actually have a follow-up question from the lending side. Because we get a lot of folks that could put down 20, 25, 30%, but they only want to do 5. I'm curious how it affects, or if we tell you they're able to do more. I'm just curious how it factors in when you're looking at the down payment percentage.
I think it still affects it because a lot of these sellers that we're seeing selling right now the majority of my sellers are, they put down 20%, they put down 25%. Some of them were cash, and they just are like, how? They still don't quite understand, and you can bring them all the information, all the facts. I think that at the end of the day, they understand the risk factors. Most people have AI on their phone. I know I do. Hi. I named my AI. And so you can kind of look at that. You can kind of vet anything you want today. Information is cheap, So that's how
Can
my
I add
advice.
something to that real quick? So a lot of I think part of the question is the risk for a seller. So if you receive multiple offers and one buyer can put down 10% and you see another offer with 20%, the seller thinks that the person putting down 20% or that can put down 20% is more financially stable and it's a stronger offer. So yeah, I highly recommend if you can put down more, at least put that in the contract. Doesn't mean you need to put down that
I was
amount,
actually
right?
going to say, because I have an agent that does that regularly, 40% down because they can do it.
Right.
But they're really going to do 5 or 10.
Yeah, and then I think just piggybacking on what Ally said as well is find out what's most important to the seller. I've won multiple offers, not because we were the highest bid, but it was a condo downtown, and I found out that it was a second home, and that I thought, well, maybe the seller doesn't want to take their furniture or figure out what to do, so we were the only offer that offered to buy all of the furniture as well, and that just made it super easy. We were the easiest offer, so just make it as smooth as a process for the other side, and I think that's going to help you win.
Can I add on?
Please do.
I also think it's important to find out what is important to the seller. And that's a question I think is fair to ask when we are making an offer, to ask the listing agent, what's important to your seller? And I believe with the down payment question, when someone comes in with a stronger down payment, if we're going to be going above asking price, one of the follow-up questions is, are we going to have an appraisal gap waiver? So do these people actually have the funds? This will show that, all right, they have the 20%, and now show me proof of funds that you have above that to make up the difference in the event that your offer is accepted and it underappraises. So those things to me are very important too when advising my seller.
Perfect, thanks Mark. Let's stay with you, Mark, on the kind of offers situation. In terms of as-is, what are you seeing, your buyers, what's the percentage of as-is offers you're seeing, and then kind of what advice are you giving to your buyers around that?
That's a great question, and actually it starts out with the buyer consultation. When I have a buyer consultation, I have a list of questions that I will ask my buyers to see if this is something that they would even be comfortable with before even bringing it up to them. I usually sit down with them and I show them a list of, these are the things I like to present when I'm doing offers, as is one of them, with no request. We love that new ad 8.0. I'm going to go as is, but we are going to request things. I don't like that. And I haven't seen anybody use that yet, but ultimately, I have a buyer consultation. I explain the risks that are involved. I explain exactly how we can handle the process if they are going to go as is with no request, but I need to know that they're on board. Because the last thing I want to do is go back on an agent like Ally, for example, if we're having a transaction coming back with a bunch of requests after the inspection. So I make it clear. And I let them know I will not go back on that. If there's something severe that pops up and you're going to cancel the deal, then at this point, let's go back and see if they're willing to work with us. But ultimately, I'm seeing about 90% of my buyers are going in as is on a multiple bid and with no requests, not with requests. So I'm seeing that, but I do advise them in the buyer consultation that this is one of the tips that you can tip the scale and have your offer be accepted.
Perfect, thanks Mark. On the business development front, and this question's for you, Justin, what is your approach to getting listings?
It starts with the relationship. You have to know the market. You have to be able to analyze the market. You have to be able to run comps and understand what the value is, but it starts with the relationship. I just won a listing. It'll be the biggest listing in my life, and coming up soon. Very excited to share with everybody. I've been courting the seller for 6 years. We met at a restaurant, and I was having dinner with a team member, and I was like a coaching session. They were new to the team, and some stranger sitting next to me just randomly. I don't mean to interrupt. Do you mind? It sounds like a coaching session. Do you mind if I interject? And I was like, yeah, no, please. The more information, the merrier. We exchanged information. Turns out he owns a $7 million property in Lakeview, and I've been sending him gifts and letters and everything for 6 years, and just got the listing agreement a month ago. So it starts with the relationship. If everybody, I encourage everybody to read. It's old school, but what is it? Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? So understand who you're talking to. Do as much research online as you can before that first meeting. From LinkedIn, Instagram, Google them. Find out as much as you can, just to help create that common bond. It's so that it's so much more authentic. And then, you have to know your data from InfoSparks to every comp. You have to be competent in understanding, and then being able to make confident recommendations on staging, painting, something that needs to be done. And I think that's how you win listings.
Awesome, thanks, Justin. I'm so glad you said about the kind of 6-year period, because I coach lots of the loan officers here. One of the things I say is, once you feel like you want to give up, once you feel like you've sent enough gifts, you've written enough notes, that's when you need to push even harder, right? You need to keep on doing it, because you feel like, they're never going to use me, they're never going to respond. But 6 years, Eddie, where is he? 6 years later, it really can take a long time to get those relationships. So thank you for emphasizing that. This is a question I'm really excited for all of us to learn, because I feel like it affects both the lenders at the table and the agents. Ally, how are you approaching those sellers who are currently at 3% or lower interest rate? How are you doing that? What advice are you giving them? How are you getting them to sell their house?
Right, that's a great question. So, money is a part of life, right? But life usually kind of takes, life is more important than money. And I come at it from a personal standpoint. Although I am in a 3% interest rate, and I haven't sold, but I don't want to sell. But when I talk to these people, I'm like, okay, example, I sold a penthouse last week, and my client is a wealth manager, and she's sitting on about $500,000, maybe $450,000 worth of equity after closing, and I'm like, listen, you can take this money and double it in 10 years, right? Or less. And if you keep this condo, you're basically running into replacing the HVAC. She's at 10 years right now. Replacing the appliances, and they're not cheap appliances. Do you want to be a landlord, right? Because having one unit as a landlord usually is not that profitable. So we looked at both markets, the real estate market, the stock market, and she decided to sell because she thought that her money could do better elsewhere. So that 3% interest rate kind of disappears in the sense that you're getting like a 7% return, on your money. Or when it comes to life, we outgrow our homes. We're supposed to outgrow our homes. Right? Our generation, meaning like I'm Generation X, like we outgrow our homes faster than our parents did. The generations after me outgrow their homes faster than that. So I think it's an important part to also, in terms of rates, depending upon how much money you make every year, your rate is a little bit of a game because you get to write off the interest on your gross income. So like if you're pulling in $400,000 or $500,000 and you're writing off, you're knocked down a tax bracket. It's not necessarily like you're just throwing out money. So I approach it from a bunch of different angles.
That's good, and thank you.
All right, another question I think is going to be applicable to the lenders, real estate, insurance agents, a lot. And this could be for you, Mark. It's around growing a team. So you said you have 7 team members. How did you approach growing your team? And a second part, when did you also know it was the right time to start a team?
Okay, a little history. I sold in Iowa for 6 years. You don't need a team there. Because you can actually, it's like the suburbs. You can have a lockbox, and I could have 15 listings, and I could just set up the appointments, give them a lockbox code. It was simple, right? I moved to Chicago, totally different animal. Realized that, we need to be there for our showings. We need to be there for our listings, and I couldn't be everywhere at once. It's not like I shot out the gate when I first moved here, but I knew that I was in a position after I had 4 listings that I couldn't do it on my own, that I needed help. So it just happened organically, believe it or not. Some of you are used to someone moving here from Arizona John Galt, by the way, who's on my team, many of you know him. He moved here from Arizona, and he joined my team because he's like, I know real estate, but I don't know anything about Chicago. So it started with him. And everybody on my team, I knew through people who organically joined my team that was a good fit. I never advertised for it. And I have to admit, I'm not looking for team members just for numbers of people. I'm looking for the quality, people who I can work well with every day, people who want to listen to me, and people who can work harmoniously together. I love that word. Anyway, that's a gay issue get out of me today. But my team has been great. They help each other. I think the newest person on my team has been with me minimum 4 years, all the way up to 13 years. And it's about retention. It's about treating your team as individuals. I'm not their boss. I'm their team lead. I'm their team member. We all work together. We treat each other fairly. And I have to say, it's like my second family. And I don't have any family here in Chicago, but when I want to do something and have a happy hour or have a get-together, the first people I think of is my team. So, happy to have them.
Nice one. Thank you so much, Mark. Cody, I'm going to start calling Mark your dad now. Okay. So,
He does call me Daddy. Zaddy. Zaddy.
Cody,
Yes.
Daddy's calling. Anyway, moving on. So Mark gave me a nice segue there, so we're going to go on to the gay stuff now.
All right.
So part 2 of today's panel is working with LGBTQ plus homebuyers. I'm really happy that I'm getting to ask this question because I am a suburban gay. So Justin, question for you. Do you see same-sex couples moving out of the city? And are there any other patterns you're seeing within our community?
Is that us?
I think it was me.
Do we almost touch swords? A lot of the gays, older gays, want to be in Andersonville. Do I see a pattern of gays moving out of the city? Not necessarily. I think it's more about your life. Like I live in Roscoe Village. My husband and I live in Roscoe Village. I see gay flags in Oak Park. I see gay flags all over the city. I don't think there's necessarily an exodus of our community leaving the city. Coincidentally, I do have 3 gay sellers that did just leave the city. But I also have a straight couple that just moved to Australia, and so I don't necessarily think it's a gay exodus from the city. Other patterns from the gay community, I think it's more just of how they live their life and where they work and the community that they want to be in. Do they have kids? Is it about schools? I think it's more about that than about the gay factor. What I think. What do you think about that? Or what do you think? I'm curious. I want to open that up to the audience. I'm actually very curious what other patterns you're seeing in our community, because I do see a pattern of wanting to be in Andersonville. I love Andersonville. I want to be Ally's neighbor.
You can buy my house.
All right, thanks.
So you don't have to remodel
So I
it?
don't have to rehab it.
But no, I don't think there's an exodus from the city.
I'd be curious, do you see the other way around? Do you see people moving to Chicago?
Yeah,
Maybe, I don't want to name names, but going to Florida, Texas.
No,
upcoming?
I do have clients that did move here from Florida that because of a political environment. I had a client that lived in Wakanda, and he was like, "I need to be closer to the gays." And I was like, "Yeah, you do." So, and he moved here. So forever apparently. Well, not anymore.
Not gay.
Yeah, no, he's totally gay.
No, Wakanda.
Wakanda's not gay. No, it's not as gay friendly. It was a small community for him out there. But yeah, I do see more gays coming to the city than I do see them leaving the city. I moved to the city. I moved to Chicago to come out. So I am from the DC area. I lived in DuPont Circle, which is DC's gayborhood, but I was in the closet. I moved to Chicago. I used grad school as the excuse, which was real, but it was really to come out of the closet. I was terrified to walk up Halsted Street when I first moved here, out of fear that somebody would know that I was gay if I was on that street. And I remember walking down market days, and I felt like a gauntlet, and I was proud of myself for making it through. And now look at me, I'm on a gay panel. Come a long way, so thanks Chicago. So no, I do, I think Chicago is a great city for our community.
Nice, thank you.
Kick down that door.
I did.
I see a lot of people moving from all different areas for all different reasons. Like I think as of late, I've had a few clients from California after the LA fires. They were like, F this, I'm out. Like, and you know, it's interesting because San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, I get clients, DC, Miami, I get a lot of clients there. We had a trans couple 2 years ago move from Florida, Pensacola, Florida. They were starting to get scared, and strangely enough, they purchased way out, like close to Wayne, Illinois, and I was like, and Glenn, my business partner, was handling their sale, and I was like, have you had kind of a talk with them about, and he's like, I have, I feel like they're kind of jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. So far they're fine, knock on wood if this is wood, but you know, they pass, right? So they pass, and that's a big thing in the gay community. Can you pass as straight? Can you pass as a gender, right? Like male, female, you know, but they pass, and it's, but I'm even scared for them 2.5 years later. I'm like I couldn't live out there. And I mean, like, I'm wearing a dress today. You know what I mean? But it's, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, so. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you both for that. Sticking with you, Allie, and bear with me, this is a long question from the audience, but and it's a two-parter. How do you prioritize being your authentic self as a realtor, and how have you ever been made to feel uncomfortable in your role as an agent, and how would you advise agents handle experiences like that if you have?
Sure. So I'm pretty authentic. It took me a long time to get here. I love myself. I don't have a lot of fear anymore. When I was younger, I did. So my authentic self as a realtor is just not hiding who I am. Most people know I have a wife. By this age, most people know that, you know, I live with my wife, and we're happy and healthy. Sometimes I want to kill her. You can erase that part because it might happen. This will be evidence. And then this is interesting. So, have you been made to feel uncomfortable in your role as an agent? So this was years ago. I was driving down Halsted Street with a mother and a son, and we were going to look at a condo. And she said to her son, she's like, I don't want you living in this neighborhood. And I said, that's interesting. I go, why? She's like, well, it's a gay neighborhood, right? I go, yeah, and guess what? I'm gay. Shut down. She was a woman of color. Her son was a person of color. And we started having a conversation. And we went deep. And I explained to her, I told her my story, coming out, and did it up. her son ended up not being gay. Like, I still know him, he's married, he has 2 kids, he moved to California, he sold his place with me. But I think that was such an important conversation because there's an acronym, can I swear? Okay, there's an acronym which says, there's an acronym for fear. It's fuck everything and run, or face everything and recover. And I carry that with me into my life on a daily basis. If somebody is gonna attack me for being a lesbian, I'm gonna attack them for attacking me. Not attack them. I'm gonna have an open, honest conversation with them, and I'm gonna open it up to what are your concerns, what are your fears? It's not like I'm going after every woman I see. I think heterosexuals, like, and sorry to any heterosexuals sexualize gay. That's what it is. That's where the fear comes from. I'm like, honey, I'm not interested. You know? Like, I go after lesbians. I mean, and I'm married. Sorry, Marcy, I don't go after lesbians. But, yeah. I mean, but it is interesting, right? It's like when you think about it, like like when you get into a conversation with a homophobic person, they are always boiling it down to sex. I'm like, honey, I'm a 56-year-old woman. Ask me the last time I had sex. That's what we'll end on.
Wow, I hope everyone filmed that and deletes it.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yes, I was going to say
So just one of the experiences that I had was growing up in Iowa as a real estate agent and actually going out with people. I had to stay closeted in many ways. I mean, I had a partner who was a cop and he was closeted. It was such a weird way of living that we were ourselves only at home or around our friends. And that was one of the main reasons after that relationship ended. I'm like, I'm out of here. And so I came to Chicago. But to actually be in business and feel like you could lose your client if they know your lifestyle was like a horrible way to live. So being here in Chicago and having a total different look about it and attitude, I don't run into it that much here. And if I did, it just reminds me of Iowa, and I'm just going to leave them too. So.
Right, 100%. It's so important as well that we're talking about this. So, very quick story. I grew up in Wales in the UK. I was a teacher before I came into the mortgage world, and I used to talk about my partner, my boyfriend, in front of the kids. I taught 2nd grade, and my mum asked me, she was like, is that okay to talk about that with children? Like, yes, it's important that we do talk about that. It would be ridiculous if I didn't talk about that. And, you know, to all our straight allies in the room, like, please talk about this panel with your straight friends and tell them we're just normal people and we don't fancy all of you, right? Like, it's just, we're just normal humans. But it's really important, like, you know, we won't get into politics, but the political environment at the moment, right? It's really important that we just normalize the LGBTQ plus community. We're just normal folks. Mark, we're going to come to you. Being, I think you're the biggest team, I think, in the 3 of us, so this is very pertinent for you. How are you teaching your team to deal with LGBTQ plus issues and work with the community?
So living and working in Chicago, and primarily Rogers Park, which is the most diverse neighborhood in the city. That's where most of us are from my team. And I believe just like any protected class, we treat everybody the same. We don't necessarily have to have specific training to work with gay and lesbians, right? You just need to know that everyone's a protected class. And the fact, sometimes I get a little nervous because of all the cultures more than I do gay and lesbian when I'm working with clients, because we have cultures from Jamaica, we have Ethiopian, we have Nigerian, we have Indian, we have all these different cultures that have different thoughts and processes. And I think I get a little more hesitant working with them, and I think my team agrees. You know, gay and lesbians are probably a treat to work with overall. They know what they want. They go in, and they are wonderful people to meet and long-term relationships forever. So my team is half gay, not even half gay. I guess there's some that are questionable, but I won't call them out.
They're bi.
They're bi.
Anyway, it's just it's an inside joke. Can I tell it? It's kind of funny.
It's not an inside joke.
Okay, you know who I'm talking about. So everyone, that's Cody's ship in the back. Wave, say hi, Cody.
Hi, Cody.
He's on my team, but Cody is so great with our community because he even was joining the gay and lesbian chamber because he's like, these are the people, these are amazing people. It's not a matter of sexuality.
Right.
And he's just something I'm very proud of because he just dives right in and he's married, he's got his lovely wife, Kristen. Yes, lovely. He has a wife, Kristen, but funny enough is when he was in the chamber, he was telling everybody about his partner, Chris. So it worked well, anyway. But no, my team is amazing when it comes to that. So.
My partner, Chris. That's really good.
So, thanks, Mark. Coming back to you, Justin, and forgive
Love
me.
you, Cody.
What are some of the most common obstacles you've seen, and how can real estate professionals proactively address these issues to create a more welcoming and supportive experience for the LGBTQ plus clients?
I think it goes beyond just supporting the gay community. I think it's about having compassionate humanity for other people in general. I recently have clients that they were in my car, they were moving here from California, relocating for work, they get in my car, first time meeting them in person, and they express one of their fears. And the wife's sitting in front, husband's in the back, and they say, well, as you know, we're an interracial couple. And I was like, you are? And I kind of just joking about that and laughing about that a little kind of helped ease the tension, but they legitimately had a fear of, they asked, should the white husband walk through the door first before the black wife? And I had never thought about that. And I'm glad that they brought that to my attention. And I told them and I reassured them. And I said, look, one, we're in the Midwest. It's very welcoming and opening. But two, I know Kung Fu. And if I smell any prejudice, I will fuck somebody up. And I'm not afraid of that. And they really appreciated that. And so I think it goes beyond just supporting our gay clients. It goes to just support our clients in general as humans, understand their motivations, their fears. It goes into that the interview up front and just learning more about them, but just being a human. So, but specifically about obstacles, I don't know if there's specific obstacles that we have other than maybe some of those fears of, should we hold hands? Like, can we be affectionate with our partner, like as we're touring a home for our family? So I think just being sensitive to whatever the individual in that couple's fears and motivations are.
Anything to add, panelists? Anything you want to add?
I had the most uncomfortable experience with a broker who shall remain nameless, with an African American couple, straight couple. So I haven't had much with LGBTQ here, and the broker basically took me aside and said, "They're pre-approved, right?" I'm like, and you're asking, I literally said, like, and you're asking why? She's like, well, I just ask everybody. I'm like, you don't. So don't say that. Like, anyway, it was heart-wrenching, and I probably should have said more, and I didn't. But you also want to keep a level of professionalism that maybe the other person isn't, right? And I didn't want to make them uncomfortable, so that was my kind of rub with,
Totally, yeah. Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high, right?
Yeah, you try.
Yeah, right. This is the one question I remember who asked it. Michael Plingman, this is yours. How do you describe the power of the gay dollar or pink pound if you're British? And are there financial opportunities that are overlooked within our community?
This is a great question, so thank you. Interestingly enough, so as gay and lesbian, and I'm bisexual, transgender, we create our own families sometimes, because sometimes our birth families are not necessarily the most supportive. And my family was very supportive, but I've seen it. And so sometimes, example, Mark was selling a 3-flat. I had three gay men come from San Diego. One of them I knew really well. And he's like, we want to buy a building together. And we want to live on one floor the couple wanted to live on one floor, the single guy wanted to live on a floor, and they wanted to rent it out. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like, you've literally created more buying power. You've created like a family unit, because two of the men were getting older and one was a little younger. And he was like, he's gonna take care of us in our old age. I'm like, I have to find one of those. And it's really beautiful. Like, they love the building, they love each other. It's such a heartwarming, it was like, this is amazing. So I think the gay dollar is like a real thing. You know, if you study communities, you know, double income, sometimes no kids,
Or
right?
triple in that.
Or right, that's a triple income. Yeah, and now there's like thruples.
I know. I've never met a straight throuple, so.
I mean, right? Like, I'm like, Jesus, that's a lot of work. Anyway, so, you know, the gay dollar is really strong. And like, not that we should base things just on money, but what comes of money is like ease of life and community and comfortable, and like, you know, it's fun. Like, it's fun having some money and having a family, a gay family. Anyway, that's all I have. And you sold us the building. He is
And I owned
seriously, oh my God, and everything was done and done right. I mean, buy a building from a gay.
Yes.
Honey. I mean, lesbians know rough carpentry, gay men like design. I'm totally sexualizing. Anyway.
Before I was gay, I was a lesbian.
Well, honey, he still kind of is.
Yeah.
For me. Okay, that's all I have. That's it, I think. Wait, are there financials? No.
I think you hit on that. I think you did.
I mean, I touched on that.
Yeah.
Like, get together with friends and buy a building.
Right, 100%.
I mean, I guess straight people
Well, you can
do
do
too,
this straight,
but-
yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be more fun.
Yes. Anyway, okay.
So this question is meant for Mark, but I'd be curious for all of you if you have anything to add to it. But what have you done within your career to build a referral network to support the LGBTQ plus homebuyers?
So there are some websites out there, and they're not the ones you're thinking of. Okay, National Association of Gay and Lesbian, Real Estate Professionals. I'm a member of this website, and that gives me the ability to promote the fact that I'm gay and a realtor for people who are coming from California or Texas, and they're looking for someone who understands them, right? So I've been on a couple of those websites, and I'm not saying that it flows through, but it pays for itself, because I usually get one or two a year from that. In addition, something I like to do is when I have clients that are coming to the area from California or Texas. I just had someone from Texas, in fact, they knew nobody here. They just wanted to get out of a certain situation in Texas and wanted to be around people in a blue state. And that was the main reason they moved here. And they basically transferred with their job, they didn't know anyone, and they came into this where even after the transaction closed, I felt like I just didn't want to leave them hanging. So I set up a dinner with about 4 other couples around the same age as them that I've worked with and did an intro. And now they're all hanging out still.
Oh.
And it's like, I'm the hero because I introduced them. But it's a matter of just having that kind of connection that helps with the referrals. And in addition, we all have lives, and social media is a huge part of it. So on social media, I do show the fact that I have a husband. I do show the fact that I live a gay lifestyle. And people follow that. And they, from that point, know you don't have to promote it in any other way. Just be who you are. And
Yeah.
people will connect with you, especially if you're a good real estate agent. People will follow.
Totally true.
Yeah, a long time ago, when I was younger, played in CMSA, Chicago Metropolitan Sports Association, largest gay sports association in the country. And that's how I made my network in Chicago. And that's how I met all of my friends and although I don't play sports anymore, that has continued on. So I still have those relationships from there, but it goes toward beyond just the gay community of just do your job well and people will support you. 75% of my business is repeat and referral. And so it's just follow up and do your work. Just show up and do a good job and people will remember that, and that's how you'll get your referrals.
One other thing I forgot to mention is somebody on my team, John Galt. He actually contributes to and sponsors. It's the Big Gay Brunch. I call it Bear Brunch. And he sponsors that every year. You know, he gives people sunblock, sunglasses, but he promotes his business through different parties, organizations. So it's a good way to go. HRC was huge for me when I first moved here, by the way. That was the one thing that actually got me to be myself and to know that there's a lot of people out there who are trying to protect each other in this community. And it was a great start for me when I moved here.
I'm going to plug, we're going to have the president soon, but I'm the treasurer of the LGBT Real Estate Alliance, which is another national organization. But it's another organization. You'll hear more from Patrick Torres, the Illinois chapter president, but just want to put a plug for that already. But excellent. So that ends the questions that you had submitted ahead of time. So be curious, we want to open it up to all of you. If anyone has any questions that they would like to ask. Yes, please.
Miguel.
Yeah, so Miguel, good to America. Thank you guys for opening up the panel, coming here and sharing with us. So, I'm a heterosexual male with a big network in the LGBTQ community. I've ran into a few issues. Maybe I want to know how to handle these, you know? Where I've had clients that are heterosexual and we ran into LGBTQ sellers or rentals, you know, where my clients have made inappropriate comments. And, you know, two-part question. Number one, how to handle that. You know, most of the times I just tell them, like, yo, you can't talk, like, you can't say that, bro. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, and, oh, no, it's cool, you're my realtor. No, like, you can't say that, number one. Number two, at what point do you say, you know what, like, I want the business, especially as a newer realtor, but at what point do you say, you know what, dude, like, this is not working out, you know? So,
I think that goes to Allie because she's the one who likes to explain. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I usually have an open conversation with them and say, like, you know, it's hurtful.
right.
You know, you kind of don't read that great as a buyer when you say stuff like that. You kind of don't know other struggles, you don't know other people, and you just have to be. There's two. What's that?
Lack of empathy.
Empathy, sympathy, also like just acceptance. It's like plain, you know, and I think one thing that this country is going towards is like less kindness and less tolerance. And it's scary for people who could be put in harm's way because of that. And as a straight man, you get to stick up for people, right? And so I would just I mean, you don't want to lose business, but you also don't want to lose yourself.
I think, well, thanks for being an ally and being here.
Yeah, thank you.
And,
Cody gets a clap.
I think it's important to shut down any prejudice and be professional about it. And you can look them straight in the eye and say that's inappropriate.
Straight up.
And shut it down right there. And say that won't be tolerated here. I'm a professional. I have a fiduciary responsibility to you. And I'm going to help you get the best deal for a property when we find it. You don't need to say things like that. Just shut it down.
Keep that in your head.
You don't. Yeah. No. Don't encourage it. No. Don't. You have a conversation. Yeah. Don't say no. It's okay to have those things and laugh about that when I'm not around, because it's not. You shut it down right away, and that goes with any prejudice.
Thank you.
Excellent. I think we have time for one more question. Yes,
I got a quick question because a lot of my clientele are in the Lakeview and Andersonville area, and a lot of the biggest concern comes from how do I get them out of a building these luxury amenities into a property that doesn't have it. What is your kind of sale point of taking them from these buildings?
Why would you remove them from a luxury?
They want to buy, but
They're
then
in a rental.
Oh, they're in a rental.
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, they're in a rental. They want to buy, but then they see these the luxury buildings are only
Right.
rentals, or they're very limited if it comes to it, and then they end up looking at other places, and then they realize they're missing out on
Sure.
amenities.
Couple things. Read The Catalyst if you haven't yet. It's a great book. And talk to your financial advisor and lender and show them the financial impact of renting versus owning. But it's also having an honest conversation about, well, you like the gym on site, but look at the gym across the street that's nicer and better. So it's all about how you position it, but also understanding what their true motivations are. If they don't know if they're going to lose their job and they need to keep things fluid, then it's going to be tough. But if you know they want to establish roots somewhere, find out what the core motivation is, and then just keep going towards that.
Yeah, and two things. Your first place is never your dream place. Even for people who are buying like $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, you know, they're going to go up from there. And then the second thing is, whose wealth are you building?
Mm-hmm. Your own or your landlord's?
Yeah. So you're paying for all these amenities, which you can find elsewhere, but you're building your own wealth if you buy a place. Real estate is still the #1 wealth builder of any, you know, like you study markets, real estate is it. You live in your investment, basically. So.
And I find that there are people on my team that are similar in age, and they run into similar problems as well. And I think it's a generation thing right now. I think a lot of people, and again, this is me speculating, that maybe they like the fun aspect of everything, like everything at their fingertips. But looking at it as a long-term investment, I think the way of showing them an example of somebody who purchased at a certain age and where they are today. Because it's a great investment, and we all know that. That's why we're in the business. So
But literally,
I think just showing them the numbers.
Yeah, showing the numbers. Like clicking on the MLS sheet, if you click on the price, it'll show up the mortgage calculator, right? It'll show, just showing them, look, you're paying this much in rent. You could buy this place, start building equity, and I think just educating your buyers will help you on that.
When I first started, I created an Excel sheet where I showed everybody what they would be paying per month, right? And because when I first started 25 years ago, a lot of my clients were renters, you know, and it was a hard jump. First-time buyers are tough. You gotta show them the value.
And your lender's happy to get you a rent versus own presentation.
I know a couple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know a few.
Excellent. Sorry, if there's more questions, please, we'll be around for a while afterwards, but we just want to be mindful of everyone's time. Yes, you did have your hand up, yeah.
I do want to jump off because I'm one of the sponsors on Build Chat. Normally my partner Mark Keppy is the more social one. I'm a litigation group. I just want to kind of touch on what you guys are talking about. Because you guys are casting a lot of ethical and moral dilemmas. But what I heard was a cause of action, right? Because if a transaction doesn't go through because of a comment that was made because of a protected class, you could get yourself into more than just an ethical issue, right? Why did the person not get that property? And it's because of some bias or prejudice. It's more than just that. So you guys have to navigate those things. Talk to your managing brokers. Y'all know attorneys, call them and say, hey, this guy said this thing. And now that I'm kind of worried how this goes from here. So it's not just, you know, it's one of these things through the years that become like, oh, shucks, this is just the way things go. It becomes legal at a certain point. So be careful of that stuff. And understand that when people are expressing that bias as to whether or not someone will be considered, it's more than just the way people view things. It becomes, you know, there's HUD regulations on this, there's the Illinois Human Rights Act, all that stuff, which prohibits discrimination in housing. So it's not just the guy said something that's untasteful or distasteful. He might have said something that's illegal in the transaction. So be wary of that. Ask your managing brokers. And if the managing broker doesn't have a good answer, ask all these attorneys who are referring business to. And if they can't do it, call me.
Let's make a quick comment, because this just happened to me recently. I was actually a realtor partner of mine, was buying for themselves, happens to be gay. There was a property that they got 21 offers on. The listing agent asked for personal letters with every offer. I'm not an agent. My understanding that is opens you up to a can of worms. And that was a big concern was, well, if he says my husband and I, maybe I'm knocked out right away because of that.
Well,
So yeah.
I don't like them, right? Because to your point, right?
Yep.
You're memorializing certain facts, right? You know, the good advice is don't put anything you might get in trouble in writing with. So,
Yeah, true. Yeah, thank you for that.
So I just want to say a big heartfelt thank you to all our wonderful panelists from A&N Mortgage. Thank you for joining us, and you know, I know my colleagues will join in thanking you. So big round of applause for our panelists, please.
So did you.
And the last two things before I release you to do all the wonderful things we have in the room. David mentioned it once, I'm going to mention it again. Next Wednesday, June 18th, is our Pride Party, starting at 5 p.m. I've added a little sprinkle of sassy, so it's also a karaoke competition, but that's not the main focus. You do not have to sing. So please come. I've only had one agent say no because he hates karaoke, so that excuse is done. So you have to come even if you hate karaoke. So that's next Wednesday. And then on August 21st, for the gays who golf, we have our inaugural golf outing, A&N Mortgage Golf Outing. So if there's anyone in the room who is interested in that or interested in sponsoring, please come and see me. But thank you all for being here. Happy Pride Month, and let's go and do some networking. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope so.